Okay, shalom everyone. I have a very, very special guest today, Timothy Holmseth. He reached out to me through my website. Actually, others had asked him to reach out to me, and he sent me his information, his websites. I had heard about him before, but I did a lot more investigation into who he was, and I immediately wanted him to do an interview on this program because Timothy Holmseth has, he's not only been exposing child sex trafficking for a long time, but he has put himself in so many battles that the harassment this man has endured is second to none. I mean, not only have they ripped down his social media platforms, but he's been dealing with, well, he'll get into that. But this man is an award-winning journalist. He's a very, very credible source, no matter what people try to say about him in terms of the lies that constantly come against those who try to expose the satanic pedophilia and child sex trafficking, especially the way Tim does, where he's right in the middle of things. So I'm going to let him give an introduction as to who he is, in case I know some of you may not even know who he is. So I'm going to let him give an introduction and just introduce himself and talk at length about what he's been involved in, and then we will go from there. So without further ado, Tim, go ahead.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be with you. I've been keeping up with you for a while since you were brought to my attention. Some of my followers contacted me and said, "Hey, there's this guy in Alaska." So you're the guy in Alaska. Well, yeah, I'll give a little bit of background on myself. My name's Timothy Charles Holmseth, and I'm a former news reporter. Oh, and by the way, well, before I go any further, you're going to see me move around a lot. Sarah Westall teases me about this all the time because I move around because I have a condition with my spine and it's painful. But when you move around a lot and you're telling stories, sometimes it looks a little shifty and people think that you're not telling the truth. So if you see me cracking my neck or moving around, yeah, I'm a former news reporter. I live in East Grand Forks, Minnesota. 50 years old, and I've got 3 kids and I've got a granddaughter. So, and I'm a former, like I said, I'm a former news reporter. I worked in the mainstream news for at least a decade. I worked in radio, newspaper, won some awards from the North Dakota Newspaper Association, Best News Series, did some column work, won first place on that. And then in 2009, everything changed for me. And I guess maybe this is where, like, and as you understand as well, Daniel, maybe this is where the Lord makes his move on you, because I was just a news reporter and I had no idea at the time how naive I was. But I got a telephone call from a bounty hunter in Florida who was working on a missing child case down in Florida, a little girl named Haley Cummings. And his name was Cobra the Bounty Hunter. And I came to learn this is one of the most evil men that ever walked the earth. But he called me and he started telling me this and that and telling me all these about this case. And it didn't take long for me to learn, and I factually learned that this is actually a CIA operation. They're stealing kids, and they're identifying themselves as CIA agents, FBI agents. They're dressing up as pastors. It almost sounds cliche at this point with anybody who's following Pedogate. When you say, "Oh, and he dressed up like a pastor." Yep, that's what they do. And he told me all these things, and it didn't take long. I knew it, and I'm like, "Oh my God, they're impersonating federal officers." At the time, I thought they were impersonating CIA and FBI. As time went on, I began to go, "Oh my God, they really are. These really are FBI. These really are CIA." Right. But I quickly reported it. I reported it to the Attorney General of the state of Florida. I reported stuff to the local police, and I also reported it to the FBI. Well, lo and behold, the FBI jumped on it. They jumped on the information. I had found information through my interviews that they had created child pornography of this little girl. And this little girl still hasn't been found. She's 5 years old. And I believe it was rape pornography because it was photographs of her private parts that appeared to be damaged. I didn't see the pictures, but they were described to me by the paralegal of a law office who held them and watched the photos be passed around. So I found that out, and I'm like, oh, this isn't a normal story. I don't want to cover this story because they're going to tangle me up in this. I've been around long enough to know that. And the FBI did, they started following leads that I'd given them about this disc that had pictures on it. And I think they just about found the disc, and I think they just about found the little girl. Lo and behold, did I find out years later that the local police where I live in East Grand Forks, Minnesota, the local police were quietly working with an operative of CNN who's involved with child trafficking. His name is Art Harris. And by the way, I wouldn't be able to sit and say these things as I do in every interview. I wouldn't be able to do this and not get sued if I was lying, you know? The things that I say, if they sound outrageous, I'm glad they sound outrageous because they are. I'm never going to get sued, guaranteed. So, yeah, I did some documentary. It's hard to tell this story, trying to figure out a timeline on it. I came upon some documents years later where I found out that the local police were coordinating with this group. A group out of Indiana called Specialized Investigative Consultants Incorporated, and then there was a group out of Florida. And basically what they are is they're mafia, organized crime, child traffickers, whatever. They're working with the military and everything. And I found out that the police where I'm at, I got an email. They hid these documents. I found out that the ranking police officer at the police department here, his name is Lieutenant Rodney Hychak. He was secretly emailing back and forth with this operative from CNN who was working with this group. And in the middle of the night, and Rod Hychak was using his private email. He wasn't using the police department email. So later when I did document requests, they don't come up because they're not a government. But I got them. I got the emails, and Art Harris is saying to Hychak, he's saying that he just found out that the FBI in Florida went to this one place looking for these pictures because of me. He flat out says these words to the cop: he's got to be stopped. Well, they were trying to stop me, and they still are. They orchestrated it. I got so much information about this trafficking operation and this pornography of this little girl that they orchestrated. What they did, they had to stop me because I had all this on tape.
Yeah.
All my interviews were on tape. And so they had to stop me from being able to publish it on the web. And I wasn't breaking any law, so they couldn't. And by the way, I was interviewed several times by the Minneapolis FBI up at the courthouse. Like I went up there and I was interviewed by the FBI. And the FBI witness, Special Agent A.J. Eilerman with the Minneapolis FBI, he told me that I was a credible witness. And he called the Jacksonville, Florida FBI and defined me as a credible witness. Now I lost where I was at. What was I going to say? Oh, they had to shut me up, but they didn't really have a legal way to do it. So what they did, and I got to be careful because I got court ongoings around me as we speak. I got to be careful of certain words I say or names that I say. But what they did is they orchestrated. Basically, they just went into a Broward County domestic violence court. I'm not from Florida. I'm from Minnesota. I'd never been to Florida, and I had never met this person, you know. And they went in and got this court order from a domestic violence judge that said I had to take everything off the web that I'd published, could never talk about this person again, could not even make a direct or indirect reference to this person using electronic communications, which means, yeah, my lawyer, I'm also the plaintiff in a federal lawsuit right now. Actually, he's a lawyer that handles high profile cases. And he told me that court order, he said, Tim, it's fraudulent. It violates the Constitution on every level. They can't do that. But they did do it. And I've been arrested based on that order 3 times. But it said that I couldn't do all these things. They served it on me up here through the sheriff's office and then started arresting me. And this is how they've been trying to hold me down. And it's not me. They're trying to keep this information away from you and the public. And so I'm charged with they charged me with violating that order a bunch of times and contempt of court. And they'll literally come over and arrest me in the middle of the night after I put up something on Twitter. And that's my crime, is saying certain names or. So yeah, I know it's like when I step back and I think about this is the crap that we used to talk about when we were kids. Like, remember when you used to talk about the book 1984? And yeah, someday there'll be Big Brother, it'll be wide, and the police will come and take you in the middle of the night. I'm standing there being arrested in the middle of the night. My daughter's on the phone bawling, Anyway, it's happening. It's happening. And by the way, Daniel, that's one of the reasons that I watched you a little bit. I watched some of the stuff you were doing. I was, your 4 pillars of what you're doing, and I watched you to make sure that you were doing what you said you were doing, and you are. And one of the things that I respected about you was, you were calling him out. You're calling out Tom Hanks. You're doing the real thing. So that's how I identified you through my spirit.
And just so you know, even though I have not been arrested for particularly exposing child sex traffickers like you have, I do understand, because of my history, where domestic violence is used to break the Constitution. Because if you know my story, or many probably don't even know my story, but I have it in my autobiography on my website, and this is something I've been going on through a long years. But when my ex-wife divorced me, she convinced this domestic violence judge to basically put a restraining order on me based off an email, just an email that I had sent. And then that turned into this long-term, lifelong stalking order that this domestic violence judge did, who basically said on October 30, 2012, she said, well, unless you agree not to teach your children about the scriptures, about God, you're not going to have any contact. Now, when I tell the story to people are like, oh, you must be making that up, Daniel. You must have done something wrong, blah, blah, blah. They can't even comprehend. I'm saying, well, go to the Clackamas County court records and look it up yourself. That's what they're doing. They're using this quote unquote domestic violence thing as this cover to just completely and totally violate the Constitution. I haven't seen my 6 children for years. And now they're harassing you for trying to get this truth out to the public.
And they're using a domestic violence in order to do it. You're exactly right. They're violating the Constitution with these orders, because there's those domestic violence judges. They can kind of order anything they want. It's on in Minnesota. When folks go to my website, timothycharlesholmseth.com, you'll see like there's a link on there that says Constitutional Showdown. Oh, it's on. It's on. I don't even know if I want to get into the details of it, but I broke they've arrested me so many times, and the attorneys weren't filing dismissal motions. But on the third time, this is the third time, the third lawyer still won't do it. But now I talked to a big-time lawyer that represents me in federal court in a defamation lawsuit. He said, Tim, this court order is it's a fraud. He said, Broward County said I had to give Broward County all my guns. I'm from Minnesota, dude. I had to give Broward County all my firearms, all my permits. I can't ever say all these certain words. That's our Constitution. If we don't have those, if you can take that at some county level court in another state on the other side of the country, we don't have anything. And so I broke their system here. I figured out what they were doing, and I got them now. What it was is that the Minnesota Public Defender's Office is conspiring with the prosecutor, and they all know you don't challenge. And this is the Satanic shadow government. I am fighting the Satanic shadow government in East Grand Forks, Minnesota right now, Polk County, Minnesota. Ronald Gulstead, he's the prosecutor. He's a total freak. Greg Woodseth, they're all hiding documents. And I'm naming these people to show you that I can do this.
Right.
The chief of police is named Michael Hedlund. These aren't normal people. They're hiding child pornography of that little girl named Haley Cummings. They've got evidence of it. They got involved in that. And they're covering for the people that created the pornography. They know that it was created and they never reported it to the FBI. And this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. It's happening in East Grand Forks, Minnesota. Right now, I probably won't get into all the details, but it's so bizarre now that my lawyer who's involved in it, Gretchen Handy, she won't even write me back now. Like, they don't know what to do. They don't even know what to do because I'm probably not going to go into all that. Like I said, it's a hard story to tell. It's hard to keep on a tangent.
Bringing this up because just like in Grand Forks, like you're describing, just like in Auburn, Indiana, just like in so many towns and cities across this nation, there are satanic pedophiles embedded in every level of local and city government.
Right.
People don't seem to understand this. They don't understand that their local judge or their local chief of police could very well be involved. It's not to say that everyone is, but it's so pervasive right now that when people say, well, why isn't President Trump doing this or that? They don't understand the swamp is not just in DC. It's across small town America. So yeah, I mean, the more you get into the details, I'm fine with. Obviously I don't want you to get in trouble, any more trouble than you're already in, but the more you want to go into it is fine with me.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned what you just said there, how it's spread out across America, because it is. And I'm a registered witness with the International Tribunal for Natural Justice on their pedophile commission. I don't know if you're familiar with Robert David Steele. He's a former CIA case agent or whatever. And he's the general counsel for that commission. And I'm on their witness list. If they hold another tribunal, I'm going to be testifying. And one of the things Robert told me was when they develop their report, it's going to be pretty intricate, and they're going to send it to every law enforcement agency in the entire United States. But the long and short of it is his plan. What Robert told me was their plan is to try to take down these pedophile operations at the county level. Because what you said is right. It's, like you said, people are bitching and griping about Donald Trump. You can't take something like this down overnight. You cannot do it. I'm fighting with local operatives right now this is like a little battle in this big new revolutionary war. My little battle's a skirmish in this big war against these satanic pedophiles. There's no way that Ronald Gulstead, the prosecutor, with Gulstead, Jensen, and McCann, who contracts to do prosecutions for the city of East Grand Forks, while he's constantly in contact with Pedogate operatives out of Indiana and Florida. There's no way at this point that he can deny what he's done, because I laid it all out I filed a motion with the 9th Judicial District Court in Polk County, Minnesota, to have him removed, because I got the goods on him, and he knows it. I laid it out to the judge. He tried to set me up. He tried to frame me, and he got caught lying. He got caught committing perjury against me. And the person that busted him was actually the superintendent of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. That's the crime lab. That's how he did it. That's how he got busted. He committed perjury. I'm trying not to go into all the small details because it could confuse listeners, but the guy's in trouble, and he needs to be removed. He shouldn't be prosecuting me, because he is going to be at the very least a witness in a federal lawsuit that I'm going to be filing against the government. It's called not a defamation suit. It's a conspiracy against rights. It's a federal lawsuit where they conspired to violate my constitutional rights. It took 10 years. This has been going on for 10 years. It took 10 years for me to finally figure out their system enough where I could prove it. Like Attorney Bruce Ringstrom, Attorney Michael Lecassier, Attorney Gretchen Handy, and their supervisor at the Minnesota Public Defender's Office, Kip Fontaine, and then the Chief Minnesota Public Defender, Christine Kohler, are actively conspiring with a prosecutor in East Grand Forks named Ronald Gulstead. The conspiracy is this: you do not file a motion to dismiss on that order out of Florida against Holmseth. That order is what's suppressing the information about the child trafficking ring. and the pornography of the child. You do not file any motions. You just let him get convicted. Well, I figured it out. And it was kind of funny, you know, one of their big things, one of their tactics is to call you crazy. Oh, he's just crazy. Right. They've been doing that to me for years. And I'd actually passed 3 psych evals along the way. I mean, I always pass. But this last time when I told the court in Polk County that I was going to be filing this federal deprivation of rights lawsuit, almost the moment that came off my tongue, the prosecutor, Ronald Galstead, interrupted, and he said, Your Honor, at this point, I'm going to have to file a 2001 motion. That's a request to have somebody mentally evaluated. Because I don't think Mr. Holmseth, I'm not sure he's competent. He was having to stop me because of what I had just done. I had just said they're violating my constitutional rights. So I went and I took I took the test. A PhD level doctor out of Maple Grove, Minnesota did it. Daniel, I couldn't have done better. I passed it. And thank God this guy was honest. My biggest fear the whole time was, what if he's one of them? What if he writes up a dirty, oh yeah, Timothy's, nope, flying colors, man. He said, there's nothing wrong with this man. He said, there's no thought disorder with him, nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Lord has protected me.
That reminds me.
They have broken into my car with the intent to plant. Sure.
Sorry about that. I'm having someone over here because I had something that needs to be repaired in the apartment. So just don't mind that. It'll just
no problem.
I just wanted to say that what you're saying is so reminiscent of what I've gone through. So I willingly and voluntarily subjected myself to a state licensed psychologist for a year, and she saw me twice a month. She actually testified under oath that I had no mental illnesses. I was not crazy. I was not a danger to my children at all.
Right.
And this judge completely disregarded her testimony and still said I could have no contact with my children whatsoever. So it's like you can have these people say the truth, and these domestic violence judges will still throw it out and still just, because they have this agenda that they're pushing.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, it's impossible for a court to say that there's not some bias going on regarding religion.
Right.
Because they're imposing something onto your religion. Like, I don't want to get involved in your stuff. I mean, it is a hairy situation when you got a mother and a father, then they break up. It's like, which religion are they supposed to be?
Well, my main point in bringing that up, and I don't want to get into it, but my main point bringing that up is just to let the audience know that this has been going on for a long time, where they go under the cover of domestic violence, this broad umbrella, to try to basically violate the Constitution and the rights. And it's gotten to a point now where, like in your case, they're hiding the satanic pedophilia, which is, the whole point of domestic violence is to protect children, right? Protect abused women. Yeah. Well, it's actually doing the exact opposite. It's actually hurting children, hurting the women, hurting all these people, whether it's taking a father away from the family that shouldn't be, or whether it's actually allowing these children to be satanically, ritually abused, like in Haley's case. It breaks my heart that she hasn't even been, we have no idea where she is, do we?
No. And if there's any word that falls pretty much flat, it has almost no meaning when it's thrown at me, is the word restraining order.
Right.
But by the way, when people found out I was coming on your show, they were contacting me, telling me not to come on your show. And so somebody said you were running a scam, and I asked him back, I said, what's the scam? I said, I know that Daniel posts his 4 pillars of his ministry, and then I watch him doing those things. So what's the scam? Well, there was no answer for that. It was just, he figured out a way to make money by saying he's fighting pedophilia. No. So,
yeah, the way I figured out how to make money is I basically say I don't charge anything, and people have to choose to send me money. That's the scam.
That's essentially what I'm doing too. And anybody that accuses me of a scam, I'm like, that's what I did. My way of making a living is getting arrested Because I love to be taken out of my house in the middle of the night while my kids are traumatized. I love that. I love being strip searched. Take off all your clothes, bend over. Right. I love that. That's how I want. I like being locked in a cell where I don't know if they're going to kill me, because I've locked horns with the CIA.
Your sarcasm is noted. Your sarcasm is noted.
Right. Yeah. And so restraining orders, schmaining orders. They're both. In fact, restraining orders are part of the. If this was a war, if this was a military battle, that's one of their armaments. It's restraining orders. They've got, actually, there's 3 different parties in the state of Florida that got these county level orders on me. They go in, they get the order. I can't defend myself. I'm not there.
Right.
And then the order, the judge puts it on me, and then they spread all over the internet that Timothy Holmseth has orders against him all over. It's kind of funny because one of the people that got an order against me, I think he's in prison now for like drugs and stealing a car. Like, it's insane. Florida's just flat out crazy.
And the other thing too is, and I'm very encouraged about how you're starting to talk about these people that have been getting away with this for so long are now getting caught, because the scripture does say that the wicked will be caught in their own snares. So eventually these people are going to reap what they've sown, and I think we're starting to see that, to be quite honest, and it's very encouraging to hear.
And yeah, we are. And Daniel, something that I've noticed along the way, and this might sound a little lofty, but it's not. Something I noticed is my life, my whole story, because this has been going on with me for this battle with the satanic pedophile government, has been going on for a decade.
Yeah.
And I realized that my life is a microcosm of President Trump. Everything they've done to me, I felt so alone all those years. Nobody would help me. I was by myself, and I wouldn't stop trying to expose these people because I knew I had to do it. I couldn't sleep at night, but nobody would back me up. Then this guy, Donald Trump, runs for president, and then they start to do everything to him that they did to me. So like when they would call him a rapist or a pervert or he's psycho, I'm like, finally, because people love Donald Trump. It's like finally somebody that the president, they're doing it to our president. And the way that they're trying to set him up, like I haven't even talked about that because it's so complicated, but basically the police in East Grand Forks, Minnesota conspired with the Minnesota Pine to Prairie Gang and Drug Task Force with those operatives that I told you about. They knew about the naked pictures of the little girl, and the operatives told the police up here, this is what really happened, told the police that I had copies of that child porn. And what they thought is if they came over, if they could get a warrant, they called me, they made it look like I was a drug dealer so they could get a warrant. They came over and they barged in, bulletproof vests. My daughter's in the bathroom with no clothes on. They're trying to get in, guns. Big thing against Timothy Holmseth. Seized my computer. They seized all my storage devices. And I thought, this is weird. Why are they doing this? I know I'm an investigative journalist. I got a lot of sensitive stuff on that. Maybe they're looking for my secrets, like from my work product, but I couldn't figure out what they were doing. That's what they were doing. I figured it out later. They had been told if you find these pictures on, you can put them away forever. And they tried to set it up. If you're familiar with the Stephen Avery case, Making a Murderer, how they built it around him and then made him look like he was a murderer. They tried to do that to me. They had an operative from Indiana call in a police report to the police department in July of 2011 and lied and said that I had just told her on the phone that I had Haley Cummings in my apartment. They were laying the groundwork so there'd be a police report that made it look like crazy Tim Holmseth was bragging that he had this little girl in his apartment, because what they planned on later was to take my computer, and they thought they were going to find those pictures. I never had them. Nobody sent me those pictures. If they did, if I would have seen photos like that, I would have I wouldn't have even executed another action. My next action would have been 911. If somebody even sent me child porn, I wouldn't make another action with the computer. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wouldn't interact with that data. And, but I didn't have it. And they took it and they searched it, and they finally found a sergeant found that he said he found no sign of illegal activity. They gave it all back, but they destroyed my hard drive first. But the plan was to set me up, and they were going to make it look like I was involved somehow in Haley's kidnapping, that I raped her, took pictures of it, and then murdered her. And they thought they had the whole thing set up, but when they didn't find the pictures on the computer, the whole thing blew up in their face because I got the computer right there. I was going to show you. Yeah, hold on just 1 second, Dan.
While you're doing that, this is a microcosm of what they've done to Trump, because with President Trump, you know, Hillary and Obama, they try to accuse President Trump of tampering with the 2016 election, when actually it was they who tampered with the 2016 election because they don't want their satanic pedophilia to be exposed. So in the same way, these wicked people on a local level were trying to frame Timothy Holmseth, probably because they were guilty of the very things themselves. And by the way, folks, this is something as old as the hills. I mean, you can go back eons in human history, and this is what wicked people do. They try to accuse others of what they themselves are accused of, even on lower levels. Let's even forget about the issue of satanic pedophilia. When I'm on college campuses and I'm lifting up righteousness, what do some of the hecklers do? They start accusing me of the very thing that they're guilty of. Well, this is what wicked people do. When they're not repentant, when they don't want to get right with God, they will justify themselves by trying to actually ensnare others in what they're doing. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it will not stand. Go ahead, Timothy.
Yeah, ultimately it doesn't work. It's the projection. They're projecting their own behavior onto you. Yeah, what I went and got, what the heck? I've never done this before. I've never shown people this stuff before. But, you know, I told you that that Ronald Galstead, the prosecutor, he told a judge shortly after they took my computer. He told a judge in the Polk County Court. He told the judge that the police were working with the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to have a forensic search done of my computer, and which made it sound like there's a big thing going on. Well, the truth is they had already searched my computer, I think, down at the police station. They didn't find the pictures because I didn't have them. And so now they were in a big tangle because they had made me look like a drug dealer to get this warrant. And so, what I did was I contacted the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. I talked to he was the assistant superintendent at the time. He's a superintendent now. He's the boss. His name is Andrew Evans. And he wrote me back, and the BCA said, "We don't know what you're talking about. We didn't have anything to do with whatever you're talking about." They said, "We didn't tell anybody they could put stickers on property." They just didn't know what I was talking about. They said, they disavowed the whole thing. All that's now in front of a judge in Polk County, Minnesota, because I took the transcript of where Galstead lied and said he was working with them, and I provided the court the emails where they're going, "We got no idea. He's lying. Ronald Galstead lied to a judge." Okay, said they were working with the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. This is what they did to me that day. This is full of court papers and whatever was on my desk. I don't know. Can you read it?
Yeah. Well, I can see the. Oh yeah.
It says Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That. My mail. They're just scooping everything up and putting it into these bags. Anything. In fact, I'm not going to flip it towards the thing, but just looking at the back, there's a document back here. It's a psychological evaluation of my son's mother, because we were in custody court, kind of like what you were talking about, and we both did evaluations, and we got a copy of each other's evaluation. And she passed, and I passed, but they're scooping anything they can find. They took her medical records like that, just anything they wanted. And here's the little thing. They took my cell phone. They took
Unbelievable.
yeah, they took everything thinking that they were going to find these pictures. They didn't find the pictures, and then it started. Now you got attorneys who are not filing the motions they should, and these are Satanists, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know who they are. It's not normal human beings do not cover up sex crimes against children. In fact, normal human beings, I believe a father, like I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. I've basically given up my life for this. My kids went without presents. Once this started, our life turned into a nightmare. They got me fired from, they would strategically get me terminated from any job I went to. Because they got their little tentacles. They reach out there. They can get me. It didn't matter. I got a job working at the National Weather Service. And it's hard to get a job because you got to get into this federal facility. So I had to pass this extensive background check. And I did. I passed a background check where I could enter the secure areas of a federal facility. That's how credible I was. They got me fired. So we went without money. And yet the reason I say this is because I'm doing this because I know what they're doing to these babies that they're stealing. And it's not crazy to say that the Lord God has put it into your heart that you will fight these devils to the death. That's not crazy. That's sane.
That's right.
That's sane. And so what I'm doing is sane. What's crazy is what these pedogate operatives in Polk County, Minnesota are doing when they're trying to make an innocent man look bad to cover up for their part of the international conduit. I mean, Daniel, the things that I learned about were a child trafficking operation, a baby sales operation where they were moving the babies through the embassy in New York. Daniel, I found out stuff that would blow your mind, and I did the names, the places, the operatives, and I was naming them all. I'm not even supposed to be sitting here right now. I'm supposed to be dead right now. They broke into my car and they were going to try to plant drugs on me, but God protected me. Because when they got into the car, they went up to there was a big light fixture, and what they were going to do is try to pop the light fixture out, and my guess is put a bag of fentanyl or something up in there, and then pop it back up. This would have been consistent with their search warrants for me and all the police reports that they took. That they created they used to come and knock on my door. I couldn't figure out what they were doing until I put it all together. They kept knocking at my door, and I'd answer, it'd be a cop. I go, yeah? I'm sitting here watching cartoons with my son, He goes, you smoking marijuana? No. They did this a few times. They were laying a paper trail to make it look like I was, they'd say we received a call, but it wouldn't say who called the police. It was so obvious what they were doing. And anyway, they tried to put drugs in my car. And when a parent took a screwdriver or a crowbar or something to pop the light out, and the brackets that were holding the light fixture in snapped. The plastic snapped, and the whole thing dangled out, and they couldn't get it to stay back in. They had to abort. They had to abort the mission. Or I'd be in a prison right now as a drug trafficker. Lord God, you can't tell me that the Lord God ain't protecting me. Jesus Christ has had my back every step of the way. You can't tell me. And you'd be the last guy to tell me that.
Yeah, well, no, I just want to respond to a lot of the things you've just said. And number one, not only are you not insane, and not only is defending these little children the most sane thing we could possibly do, but it is the most important. No one can ever convince me that protecting these innocent children is not the most important possible thing we could be doing. I've even had people from the QAnon army say, well, there's other issues that we really need to. No. Our innocent babies and children, this is the most important issue. And if you don't grasp that and understand that, there's something wrong with you. Because there can be no other important thing than protecting innocent children, teens, babies that are being molested, abused, sodomized, cannibalized, used in satanic ritual abuse, trafficked even at a local and county level. I mean, come on. And then number two, this whole thing about you being protected by God, absolutely. And one thing I really try to stress is that when you go into this battle of exposing these satanic pedophiles, you've got to be covered by the blood of Messiah. You've got to be filled with the Spirit. You've got to be in prayer and in protection, because if you're not, you're going to get spit up, chewed out. I mean, you're going to basically be trampled by the enemy, because this is the heart of the beast, what's going on here. And, you know, people also like to say, well, we got all these satanic pedophiles, you know, they're really bad, but I'm not too bad. Look, if you are asleep and you're starting to hear this information and you're saying, who cares? You're being a Satanist too. I know that sounds extreme, but that you're basically falling under the spell of hypnosis that fills this country, that says, oh, let's go watch our entertainment. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Let's go do this. Anything except actually being engaged in whatever way you can be to expose these satanic pedophiles. Not saying you have to have a YouTube or be out preaching or being involved in court cases like Timothy, but that you're doing something to spread the word about what is going on here. We all should be involved with this, not just waiting for President Trump or Q to do things. We all need to be doing things. Go ahead, Tim.
Everybody's got a gift. Everybody's got a strength that they could use. And you're right. The satanic abuse of the children, the pedophilia, it is the number one issue. They've got this thing that everybody's always talking about. You know, they're calling it Trump derangement syndrome. No, that's not what it is. What it is the people that have been raping children and drinking blood or whatever, you know, depending on what level they are, but they have been engaged in this ongoing organized crime against children and with no repercussions. And what happened was President Trump won, and now they're all going to get arrested. And so what you're seeing is nervous anxiety of criminals who are desperately. That's why when you watch the behavior, even at the highest levels, where you see like Adam Schiff and James Comey and those guys, that's what you're watching. But it's actually, you got to go down into the media too. The media, CNN. Oh my God! I mean, they were after me. They were after Art Harris with CNN. Like CNN was intimately coming after me. So these pedophiles, you don't get to work at places like CNN, ABC, CBS. You don't get to work there, not at any high level, and not be like them.
Right.
So that's why you're seeing this Jim Acosta acting so weird, or these people are scared because they're going to prison. The number one issue is the issue with the children. They say, yeah, there's all kinds of other crimes that have taken place, fraud, and, you know, it's Epstein Island. And by the way, the people that I'm tangling with, they're connected to Epstein. It's Florida. They're connected to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Broward County wants me dead. For folks that don't know me, if you go to timothycharlesholmseth.com or my old website, rightintooaction.com, you can hear the telephone calls. Find the links, and I put up a bunch of the calls. They call me using voice changers, and they threaten to kidnap my granddaughter. And it's constantly, everything is take down your website, and it sounds like a robot talking to me, and it's giving me names of people that I can never write about. Pam Bondi, I can never say the name. Pam Bondi, that's the Florida Attorney General. She's up in this door. Eyeballs. Pam Bondi. Mike Pence.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Thank you. It's unfortunate that we have, I mean, because when I organized this, the street preaching rally in front of the White House to encourage President Trump and also just to bring a greater awareness to what was going on, I had so many people that basically refused to come because they knew I was going to expose Mike Pence right in front of the White House. And it was a vindication, not only with this recent news story that's just broken within the last few days about now Trump is considering seriously replacing him before the 20th. And of course, the reasons that the media are giving is that, well, he may not be viable, and we want someone that, you know, Trump has to face these really strong political wins, so he may need somebody better. But I know the real reason, because I know not only did I get all this research about Mike Pence being a satanic pedophile himself and covering for all the satanic pedophilia that's been going on in Indiana, not just during when he was governor, but for decades before he was governor. But also the fact that Don Jr., he came out, he gave me a thumbs up. He knew I was preaching against Mike Pence. He absolutely knew it. The Secret Service told me that POTUS could actually hear me in the White House before he left that morning for France. So thank you for bringing that up. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, no, I mean, it is the topic, and yeah, I don't know.
Well, one thing is people say, well, if Mike Pence is such a satanic pedophile, why did President Trump select him to begin with? Guys, again, this all ties back to what Timothy has so artfully demonstrated about the swamp being everywhere.
He had to take it in.
For President Trump even to get into office was a miracle. He had,
and part of that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think part of that. I think part of getting in is he had to bring Trump in as his running Pence. He had to use Pence as his running mate. Donald Trump is shrewd. He knew how to win, and he did win. And he ain't gonna keep Mike Pence. And I'm not sure. Did Mike Pence get one of the little envelopes at the funeral the other day?
Yeah, people have been asking me about this a lot as the envelopes have been passed out. I've chosen not to make a video about it only because I try to keep my YouTube channel on substantiated hard facts. And since all I can do is speculate about what those notes might say, I don't want to go into speculation, although I have no problem with people wanting to discuss it in the comment section, or if you want to talk about it, that's fine. Until I get confirmation about what those notes actually said, I don't want to go ahead with it.
No, I completely agree with you. They did get notes, and there was something in the note that was making them look like they were about ready to emotionally collapse.
Right.
But everybody starts speculating on what it says, and that's irresponsible because nobody knows what it said.
Right.
But everybody wants to make, hey, maybe it said this or maybe it said that. And
like I said, I have no problem with people speculating about it. It's just my YouTube channel, in order to maintain my citizen journalist integrity, which I know you understand too, I try to, as much as possible, verify, corroborate, and have multiple witnesses that back up. Because like you said, this stuff that we're talking about, why are they not suing us? Well, they're not suing us because what we're saying is true. And I would love someone to sue me personally, because then I could countersue for discovery. That's what I want to do. Now, people will say, well, Daniel, no one's going to sue you because you're so insignificant and you're such a loon. But, well, okay, what are you going to say about Timothy Holmseth, who's been an investigative journalist that won awards? You're going to say he's on the fringe? No, you can't say that. So these people have no recourse. Why have they not sued Isaac Cappy? I mean, my goodness, the guy's exposed Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, these big names. They haven't gone after him. So there's just, after a while, the preponderance of evidence adds up.
They don't sue you. What they do is they come at you through the back door. They get your YouTube channel taken. They got my YouTube channel taken down. They got me taken off Twitter. So what they do is they try to stop your voice from being distributed. They're just trying to shut me up. They can't beat me in court. They can't beat me in court.
Right.
Yeah. If I have all the evidence on a hard drive. They destroyed my hard drive when the cops took it. They destroyed the hard drive. But
yeah,
a couple of years later, I found it's kind of interesting. I found another hard drive, and I always thought I made backups. I swear I made backups. And I went home to visit my parents in southern Minnesota, and I had this old big hard drive, and my dad had this old computer. And I looked at it. I could attach the hard drive to it, and it would open it. And I opened it, and I started looking. I'm like, boom! There they were, all the backups, all the recorded interviews that I had done regarding this child trafficking operation. I still had them. I still had them all on tape. The police tried to destroy it. They took my computer, seized it. When they didn't find what they wanted to find, then they destroyed it.
Yeah.
This is America, and then they keep arresting me. So,
for a long time, we have not lived in a constitutional republic. I know people don't like to admit that, but
it's a constitutional republic, yeah.
It's supposed to be, and we have not lived in that for a long time. At least the way that people have been behaving in power, that they have basically been living as if we're not in a constitutional republic, but that we're in a tyrannical regime. which is, does not just apply to Obama. It applies to George W. Bush, Clinton before him, Bush Sr.
Right.
It's been going on and on and on and on, where they disregard the Constitution, and they'll keep just enough of the Constitution to make people, convinced or thinking that we are, but we're not. And what President Trump's trying to do, what we're praying for, is that the constitutional republic is brought back. One thing about this whole thing is the admiralty law that we've been under, this maritime law that goes back decades and decades and decades, is why they're able to get away with so much of this stuff. If we have the common law, which is what our Constitution was rooted in, common law, but that was actually brought back, which personally, I believe that it has been brought back. We just don't know about it yet. And this is why Bush Sr. and McCain and these guys have been executed secretly in military tribunals, because this common law is being used. We just don't know about it yet. And Trump's doing that. I wanted to, we're getting close to our hour break, or our hour limit. I do try to keep my interviews to an hour just because of the attention span of people. But I wanted just to read a scripture. It's in Isaiah 54. It says, starting in verse 15, it says, "Behold, they shall surely gather together, but not by me. Whoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for your sake." Basically talking about these conspirators, these people who gather, but not by me. They try to come against us, but they're going to fall. "Behold, I've created the smith that blows the coals in the fire, and that brings forth an instrument for his work, and I've created the waster to destroy. No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, saith Yahweh." So I declare that over you, Timothy, and over myself, and over anyone who is covered in the blood and honestly has a sincere heart of serving Jesus, serving the Messiah with everything in them. He covers you and he protects you. And yeah, the wicked think that they're going to get away with this stuff, and sometimes they do for a time, but eventually they won't be able to. And, I think Tim is a really good picture of this, that although they have harassed him and persecuted us, and the Messiah said this was going to happen. He said, they hate you because they hate me. They're going to persecute you. And yet he does give us the victory as well. And Tim is starting to see those victories. Timothy, I want you to go ahead and after this interview, re-email me just every single link that you'd like me to put under the description box, including your websites and just everything that you want my audience to know about. And I want to give you the last, however long, 10, 15 minutes, if you want to go that long, but give you the last word on anything that you'd like to just throw out there or talk about.
Perhaps one thing that I'm going to talk about here is something that I just did today. Actually, I've been doing interviews with a lady out of California. This is, and you can go to timothycharlesholmseth.com and you can see this. I'm not even going to begin to try to explain the details of this story because it's so extensive and it is so bizarre. But it involves a family. This woman, her brother was run over by a car and killed. One little girl, they did medical experiments on her and she died. One brother is in an institution. That doctor, that freak, satanic freak, Dr. Jolly in West, they raped her brother. They gave him electric shocks, like they tortured him. They're doing this MK Ultra. One sec. Like, hey, I'm actually live in an interview right now as we talk. I'm being interviewed. Is everything okay? Are you okay? All right. All right. Sorry about that.
No worries.
It's my daughter, and I have to make sure she's okay for specific reasons.
Absolutely.
This woman's story, you can read about her story. Her name is Ann Hanley, and she told me the most. It involves military bases, MK Ultra. Julie?
Yeah.
I'm right in the middle of an interview. I'm as we speak, so I can't talk. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye-bye. Sorry about that. I just decided to answer rather than let it ring, because then she'd give a message. And
yeah.
and Ann Hanley, I would encourage people to go to my website and read what I've already put up. She describes how the CIA, what they did to her family, what they did to her brother. Her father was a Q-level clearance Marine, and it appears that this family was targeted. It's bizarre. The Hollywood wanted her little sister to go out there. The dad said no, and then the little girl died later of this disease, along with like 17 other Marines that got the same thing. I'm not going to try to go into the details, but this is a remarkable story of what this woman has endured. And today, just today, I put out a press release that I'm doing a full-fledged investigation into this, because Ann Hanley's daughter, Monica Hanley, when she was a little girl, she was kidnapped, drugged, and raped for 3 days. It's like any horrible thing that can happen keeps happening to this family. This woman who, and this woman has spoken out against the government. That's why it's happening. I know what's going on. It'll come out in my stories. But this little girl was kidnapped, drugged, and raped for 3 days, and then dumped back on the street because they actually told her, "You're used up." Okay, she's a little girl. She appeared on television panels with like Mark Class. This is Monica Hanley, who is now, I think she's 39 now, but she had no criminal history. Wonderful, beautiful human being, no criminal history. She is now being targeted by the court system in California. I'm not going to go into all of it, but I mean, she got a DUI, but it was really sketchy. She's involved with this Arabic guy. It's bad, and it's sketchy. They wouldn't let her take a blood test, and it seemed like she might have been drugged before she got into the car. She was only trying to go. I don't want to get into those small details. This family has been targeted. This little girl did not deserve this, and they got her. So no criminal history in almost her 40 years of life, but she's a severe victim. She has PTSD. And they're telling her in court that she poses a threat to society. This is the same kind of stuff that they were doing to me. This is how I relate to it so well. I know how they operate. I know their methods and motives. And they're doing it to this girl, Monica Hanley. I am doing a full investigation. And I'm going to report. I'm going to reach out to the district attorney there. All these other, this involves senators, Trent Lott, Susan Lott, Janet Napolitano. I could keep going with the names. Military officers. They took Ann Hanley's brother when he was 11 years old after he was raped by a Catholic priest, put him into this facility, basically raped him more, tortured him more by this doctor who's a freak, Dr. Jolyon West. And I remember I was interviewing Ann one day, and she said to me, she goes, you know, she's just saying random things to me about her life. And she goes, and I still can't figure out why they took all his teeth out. And she was talking about her brother. And the first thing I thought of was, remember the case of Otto Warmbier in North Korea?
Yes, the one that was a prisoner of war, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and as we all know, that North Korea actually was a CIA operation. North Korea was a CIA operation. When Otto Warmbier got back before he died, one of the things they said was his teeth had all been pulled out and then put back in. That's how they were torturing. You torture a person by taking their teeth out with no anesthesia, you know? That's what they're doing to this woman's brother. The stuff, I could go, I'm not going to go use up time by going into all the small details, but I
want to tell everyone, please, if you have not watched the video of Kevin Shipp, please do so. He very clearly shows how the CIA is the central node of all this shadow government. The CIA has been a child sex trafficking front since its inception, and they have so many tentacles into doing so many evil things. And President Trump is doing his best. That's why President Trump was the one who got Otto out of there. Unfortunately, you know, he died. But President Trump's been moving because he's opposed to the CIA. He's trying to come against all the stuff that the CIA has been doing. Including all their various child sex trafficking fronts in whether it's North Korea or Africa or all over the world. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tim.
Well, no, that's exactly right. It's all CIA. President Trump is fighting the CIA right now and the global shadow government. And so people some people, I want to see Hillary in handcuffs. That is such small thinking. If anybody thinks that this all comes down to Hillary Clinton, it doesn't. She's just a nasty old hag. She's pure evil, just like the rest of them. Just seeing Hillary Clinton in handcuffs it's going to take a while to remove the apparatus that they have stacked our government. And it ain't just America, it's all over the globe. They're everywhere.
Right.
So,
right. This is why, and a lot of people don't understand this is why President Trump is actually working with Putin in Russia, and even Xi, if I'm pronouncing that right, the president over in China. Not that we agree ideologically with these folks, but you need that type of power to take down this global satanic pedophile network that is so intermeshed throughout the world. In fact, I know War Drummer just did a video not too long ago talking about the family that actually owns the Rothschilds. You know, that's basically what the reference of P is on that Q made. And we're talking about powerful entities that have been entrenched in the global system for not just a few years, for not just a few decades. Guys, this goes back so far. In fact, if you want to get biblical, it goes back to the Tower of Babel.
I was just gonna say that, Daniel, that anybody who, like, if you don't believe, if you're not a believer, but you watching this stuff and you understand that this stuff is real, folks, the real story, it's already been told in the Bible. This goes all the way back to Nimrod of Babylon.
Right.
They've been doing this forever. They've been sacrificing babies forever.
Yeah. In fact, I was just reading in the scriptures where it talks about, because ancient Israel started getting involved with this stuff, how it says that they started doing stuff in terms of offering their children on these altars of Moloch, and doing stuff that didn't even enter into his mind. He was so grieved at what the Israelites had done in compromising and getting involved in these surrounding pagan nations, that started way back in Nimrod, that one of the reasons they built this high tower to reach unto heaven, they would sacrifice babies at that tower. They would do all this stuff that these satanic pedophiles are doing now for the same reasons, which is global dominion, to push the satanic agenda. It's what they do. And I believe that we have this window of opportunity right now where we can fight back, we can push back on this stuff, and really have some major victories if people would just wake up. And I want to bring also back to this whole thing about people contacting you that I'm running a scam or trying to speak bad about Liz Crokin or speak bad about Fiona Barnett. Guys, if we would just stop fighting amongst ourselves and just join as one voice to come against these satanic pedophiles, we would really, really accomplish a lot more than everybody trying to falsely accuse people. Why don't you just judge people by what they do, which is what Jesus said, judge people by their fruits. You know how many people tried to tell me that Timothy Holmseth was a scam? A lot of people. I've actually had a guy down in Florida that tried to tell me that he was just one big, all he likes to do is just take other information and blah, 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 blah. Well, I look at his website, I look at his information, I look at what he's done, I judge him by his actions, and I say, I want him on my show. I want to interview this guy. So I'm really getting, well, I know this is what Messiah said would happen, but folks, really, there's two things you can do. Either you can allow all these people that are falsely accusing us to blind you, and God will just use that to delude you, and you can just continue on your merry way, or you can actually stand up for the truth and separate yourself from these things and actually start helping and promoting, and you yourself exposing these satanic pedophiles in what ways that you can. So I wanted to voice that out.
It's interesting that somebody's contacting you, telling you not to talk to me. They're also contacting me, telling me not to talk to you. See how the devil works?
Yeah. He uses both sides. Yeah.
This conversation wasn't supposed to happen. People weren't supposed to hear these things, but they did, because we both had the discernment to see past it.
The same thing happened with Angela Power Disney. You won't believe how many people I got contacted from England, from the UK, and from Ireland, all telling me that I was going to get in so much legal trouble for having Angela Power Disney on my YouTube. And I said, well, so be it. Let's have at it. Let's do this. And of course, all of it's unfounded. Someone said the CIA was going to murder me for exposing Craig Sawyer and Rachel and Keith Krause. And then, another person said that the military was going to come to my door. Just stuff that it's like, you know what? Give me a break. Why don't we just be American citizens, stand up for the truth like our forefathers did, and stop living in such fear? And because that's what these guys do. Like what you said, they don't operate legally. They operate in the shadows. They try to come in the back doors, back ways to try to mess with your character, assassinate your character, rather than just, go face to face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they're cowards. I mean, I'm telling you, I know who I'm dealing with. I'm telling you, these aren't the guys that are going to go out in the parking lot with you and duke it out. These are cowards from the word go. They come and find me anytime. That's what, at this point now, when they call me, I just say, come on. You know where I'm at. Come on, I got something for you. That's what I always say to them. Come on, I got something for you. They never, they ain't coming. They come in the form of police officers. They come in the form of that, and their paper tiger is a paper tiger. My God ain't afraid of them.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. And again, folks, we're not saying, and I'm sure Timothy agrees with me on this, we're not saying that every single police officer is evil, but what we are saying is that there's so many of them embedded, particularly in the higher ups within a lot of these local police departments, that it's a swamp that's everywhere. And like what Timothy's saying too, there's now an active operation to try to, at a local level, take these people down, which is good, a very, very good thing. I'm very encouraged to hear Timothy say that. In fact, I probably would like to have you on again just to talk about that subject in particular and the details on that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up unless you had anything more that you wanted to talk about, Tim.
No, nothing else. I just want to thank you, Daniel. I want to thank you for everything you're doing. It takes a lot of guts to do what you do. You got to endure a lot of crap. I know what that feels like. And so I want to thank you for bringing me on your show and introducing me to your almost 30,000 followers. They kicked me off YouTube, so it's going to be people like you that are going to work through the Lord to continue to give me a voice. I know a lot of stuff. I can bury a lot of people, but they're shutting me off. They're shutting my distribution off. So I want to thank you. I appreciate what you've done.
Well, okay. Well, I thank you because I believe you've gone through a lot more than what I've had to go through. And guys, another thing too is we do have a nightly Zoom prayer meeting. I really think these prayer meetings are important because we're constantly praying for my YouTube channel and for my platforms that they're not taken down, like they've taken down so many others. So if you want to join us, my prayer meetings are every night on Zoom. I always put the instructions below the videos, and I am moving the time up now. Because I'm not preaching on college campuses for the next month. They're in a break, and I'm not set to a certain schedule. So I'm moving it up to begin at 5 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Pacific, and 9 p.m. Eastern. And we meet every single night. And also, I want to plug Tim here. You guys, just like the way I do it, he doesn't charge for anything he does. It's strictly voluntary donations. So I'm going to have him send me all the links so that people can reach out to him and send voluntary donations to him to help him out, because this is his full-time job. And the same thing for me. This is my full-time job. I do not have a regular job. I'm doing this. So my links are also below for donations. That's not a scam. It would be a scam if we were charging people money. We're not. We're leaving it up to you guys. That's not a scam. That irritates me. But again, I know this is what Messiah said these evil people would do. They would lie.
It's actually a walk of faith.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here going, I will be able to pay my bills and get presents for my kids, or and eat if people send me money, because they've literally stopped me from being able to work. And
right.
So it's a walk of faith. Just got to have faith. I have faith that God's always taken care of me before. He'll take care of me today too.
Amen. And that's exactly what I say too. It's like, God, there were so many things, just even in this missionary trip that I took down to UCLA, where I didn't know how I was going to pay a certain thing. And then like literally within an hour or two before I needed to pay something, God would drop something in, so that's how he does it. That's how he works. It's a walk by faith, and it's a beautiful thing. The fact that these other people would actually say that something that's so beautiful is a scam. Again, these wicked people, they take the most beautiful stuff and they make it look horrible. And it's just like these satanic pedophiles. They try to project their wickedness on others. I'm not saying all these other people are satanic pedophiles. I'm just saying when you're a wicked person, you don't love God, this is what you do. You distort stuff, and that's what happens. So in any case, enough of that. Tim, thank you so much for being on my show. I'm definitely going to have you on again very soon. So I will be in contact with you. Go ahead and email me all those links because I do very quickly upload videos after I do the interviews. And we will definitely have you on again. So
thanks a lot, Daniel. God bless you.
God bless you as well. Thank you so much.